What we have for today, choosing where and what to study. That's the first issue that we're going to be addressing. And I mean that this is an issue that has so many factors attached to it. The very first one will be, what's your budget? What is your budget? That is what will determine mostly where you should go to study. Because if you tell me that, oh, I'm thinking of just like $1,000, or I have up to $10,000, then that will make it will make a lot of difference. So your budget will be number one factor to choose where and what to study. What do you want to study is also a factor. Some courses are cheap, some are very expensive. For example, if you just say you want to study a normal BSc or B engineering course, it's going to be totally different from saying you want to study medicine or pharmacy. Yeah, so that's another issue. And then there are level of study also matters. What level of study do you intend to take on? Is it bachelor's? Is it master's or PhD? That's another factor that you need to consider. The reason is because when you do your bachelor's program, you have an opportunity to make a lot of difference based on what you will learn during your bachelor's program. When you go on to your master's program, you still have another opportunity to also upgrade on that when you go on for your PhD program, if that's your plan. But if, for example, you just want to do a PhD program, then that might be your last chance of doing anything using education. So you should consider that before you step into, before you decide, okay, this is the country I should go, this is the course I should study. Another factor is, what are your post-study plans? Are you planning to stay back in that country? Are you planning on going back home? Maybe you have a job that you're working on, and it's from your job you are going for this program, and then you have to return to your job because you have a bond. Those are all factors that will determine where you should go. So if your intention is to stay back, then you have to go to a country that is going to give you that opportunity. What post-study prospects are there in your selected field and country? That is also another factor to determine what to study. So what will happen after you graduate? Will you be able to get a job easily based on this course that you want to study? That's a big question that you need to answer. So it's not just going to be, oh, I love the course. Yes, you may love a course, but then if at the end of your study, the course is not going to deliver a job to you, then that might be a wrong course. So you need to consider all of those factors as well. So what are the prospects in the field around the world, in your country, where you want to stay, where you want to go back to? And that also boils down to, when you are choosing a particular country, you need to research what works in that country, what prospects are in your field in that country before you decide on what you want to do. Also, determine what you should study. These are the questions you need to ask yourself. What does the next 5 to 10 years hold for your chosen career? That's a very, very important factor. Do your homework, talk to counselors, ask questions, talk to people who are already in the field, talk to people who are probably living in the country that you are interested in, and then that can help you to make a decision. Don't make flippant choices, and by that I meant what I already said. I like the course. That's not enough reason to do a course, because you are not going to pay bills with like at the end of the day. Then systemic racism, I said it's very, very real. In fact, a few minutes ago, I was talking with a friend who lives with her family in Canada, and this was one of the key issues that she was talking about. Because we always assume that everything will go well, and yes, everything should go well, but unfortunately, people and racism is very, very real, and it has ruined many people's lives. It is still ruining people's lives. So if you take that for granted, you may end up making a very big mistake. So check feedback from victims. It's all over the internet. It's all over the internet. People always share from time to time the experiences they've had. I've had many cases of people who studied certain courses, and after graduation, they refused to let them work in the country because They don't accept foreigners in that profession in the country where they have studied or in the country where they have found themselves. So those are all important things to check out before you make a decision. And then you also need to be careful about regulated professions. So these are professions that have a regulatory body that is sanctioned by law to govern them. So, for example, when you select a regulated profession, you may need an expensive post-study license to be able to practice. What that means is after you have suffered through school, you can't get a job until after you have gotten a license, and the license is never cheap. Some other issues will be skilled trades or apprenticeable trades. For example, like plumbing, electrical work. All of this may be just free for all in your country, but it's not so in some other countries. In many countries where things work, where the system works, these are regulated professions and you need licenses to practice them. So get yourself educated on different types of certifications in whatever field you have chosen. So these are some regulated professions. Just try to make a list. You can look at them: medical practitioners, nurse practitioners, teaching, dietitians. All of those professions are regulated by the system, by the law in many developed nations. So if you are going into any one of these, you will do well to do your homework, checking out what the conditions are, what the factors that may affect you later on, what they are, so that you can walk through them. Okay, so next we will move on to affordable countries and universities. So I'm going to tell you how our system works for you to understand how this works for you. So usually the platform we work on, when we ask you to fill a form, there's a form online. You can check it. If you go to Arrow's website, on the second tab, Admission Services, when you click on that, you're going to see a form there, admission application form. When you fill that form and provide all the information that we ask you to give us, we feed this information into the system, into the admission system. We put in the program you are interested in, your personal information, your qualification, the course you are interested in, the country you are interested in, what results you have. And I'll use a master's degree, for example. You have already completed a bachelor's degree and you want to go in for master's, or you have completed high school, you want to go in for bachelor's program. We feed in your high school result, or we feed in your bachelor's result. Then if you have English tests like IELTS, maybe you've written IELTS or TOEFL, we feed them in. If you don't have, we tell the system you don't have. Then we filter all of this information. We do a search, then it brings up all manner of options that you can choose from. Then we filter these based on your budget, based on application fee, based on, there are so many things that we can use to filter, but usually we filter based on your budget, and then it comes up, it returns feedback that is kind of customized to your particular situation. So you can say, all that I have for my tuition and living expense in 1 year is not, I don't want it to be more than $15,000. So we put $15,000 in the system, and only universities that $15,000 can take care of you at will show up. So that's how we walk through to select affordable universities for you in different countries. Affordable countries will be based on your choice as well. For example, when we compare many of the countries that we are working with, the cheapest places to study among them will be in Eastern nations. Southeast Asian nations are about the cheapest that you can get. Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia, those are the places where you have the cheapest countries. The tuition is cheap, the living cost is cheap, but when you start going to the West, then you're going to be ready to make a lot of investment in terms of finance, because it's much more expensive.